We do have a serious problem building on us right now. I mean, Canada, we need to have a serious discussion about our immigration levels, and we have to have it fast. And it's a subject that conservative politicians, they shy away from, as they're going to inevitably be accused of racism. And of course, progressive politicians don't want to get into the issue because it's just been such an effective wedge against the conservatives. The politics have to stop, though, and reality has to set in. Canada is heading into a socioeconomic crisis due to the current immigration policies. A lack of affordable housing is hitting crisis levels across the country, and it's causing citizens and immigrants alike to suffer, while politicians spin their wheels with discussions of everything from rent control to basement suites, but they won't dare touch the immigration issue. One provincial cabinet minister in Nova Scotia even hinted at encouraging people with spare rooms to take boarders into your homes. Now, few politicians have the courage to state what's become the obvious. Canada needs to slam the brakes on immigration levels and hard. I mean, to add insult to injury, a recent memo was leaked to Key and Bexley's counter-signal online that exposed that Prime Minister Trudeau was well aware of the crisis his immigration policies are fostering, and he purposely chose to ignore it. I mean, people have accepted that Trudeau is far from the sharpest prime minister the nation's ever had. It was quite believable to think Justin truly didn't realize the damages his policies would cause. Not that we should forgive Trudeau for his acts of idiocy, but it's worse when he actually knowingly causes the damage rather than ignorantly. The numbers presented in the memo were chilling. This is what Trudeau saw himself. Things are bad and they're poised to become much worse. Here's a quote direct from the report given directly to Trudeau and authored by Secretary of the Cabinet Janice Charette. CMHC, which is the Mortgage and Housing Corporation, projects that the housing stock in Canada will grow approximately 2.3 units between 2021 and 2030. When it incorporates economic factors alongside demographic factors, it projects an additional 3.5 million additional housing units are needed beyond the current projections to restore affordability. Think of those numbers. We're going to be short 3.5 million units within the next 7 years if we maintain this immigration course. And that memo states it outright. Immigration is the thing that's causing the challenge. It says the nation's going to need 665,000 new units a year to keep up with demand. In 2021, only 223,000 were built. You don't need to be a mathematician to see the looming catastrophe here. So why is Trudeau so fixated, even when warned, on bringing in record numbers of immigrants when it's harming the nation so much, even when the memos are coming in? Well, there's no sense beating around the bush here. The reason Trudeau won't bend is because he's a self-serving narcissist who's using mass immigration to try and cover up his years of gross fiscal mismanagement. Trudeau and his finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, have been crowing of late about how Canada is among the world leaders in GDP growth since the pandemic. And yeah, that's true. The reason, though, Canada is experiencing modest GDP growth, by the way, is because the massive numbers of immigrants have been brought into the country. Immigrants bring resources and skills, and they do help spur the economy. It gives the nation an injection of economic activity and bumps the overall GDP. The problem is, though, the GDP per capita is falling. See, while the nation as a whole is reporting growing economic numbers, citizens as individuals are becoming poorer. The economic bump from immigration isn't enough to cover the spreading of the wealth among more people. I mean, think of the examples this way. Look at India. Their economy and GDP have been growing for years, and good on them. But the nation still has a long way to go to catch up to the Western world. Their GDP is 3.2 trillion compared to Canada's 1.98. Gross GDP numbers don't reflect the nation's affluence, though, as well as per capita numbers do. India's GDP per capita, for example, is $2,250. Canada's GDP is $52,000. Now, Canada's per capita GDP numbers are seriously lagging, though, compared to comparable countries. Australia, over $60,000. And the United States is at $71,000. Ours is dropping. With the abundance of resources in Canada, the low per capita GDP figures have to be due to poor governance. Using mass immigration to cover for the government overspending is participating in essentially a Ponzi scheme. Eventually, this house of cards is going to collapse, and while Canadians will suffer dearly, Trudeau probably will have headed out to retire on a tropical island somewhere by then. He doesn't care, and as the leaked memo proves, he knows exactly what he's been doing. Healthcare systems are strained, educational institutions are packed, and housing prices are going through the roof. We probably can't avoid the looming economic crash due to the unchecked immigration numbers, but we can still mitigate it. And I'm not calling to bring immigration numbers to zero. We need new citizens, and immigrants bring a plethora of benefits to the country. But we can and must dramatically reduce those numbers right now until we can keep up with it. The current numbers are unsustainable, and a housing crisis in a winter nation can be catastrophic. Not to mention tensions are going to form between citizens and new Canadians, whether we like that or not. It's not fair to either existing citizens or the new immigrants. Political leaders need to find their courage and call this out. And yes, they're going to be called racists and xenophobes by the usual suspects. In the long run, though, they could be praised for mitigating the damage caused by a prime minister whose sociopathy won't allow him to do the right thing for the nation.